Hello, I'm Josh. So this is session 3 of our online workshops, and today we're going to be looking at well-being and the importance of maintaining positive mental well-being. So I'll be sharing some tips, and we'll be talking through what's important to us, finding out what's important to us, and how we can deal with it sometimes when we're on a bit of a low. So first of all, we're going to talk about worries and solutions. So this activity is something that I do quite a lot and something that's really important for me anyway. So I'm sharing this because I think it will be hopefully useful. So what this task is essentially is writing down all of your worries and your stresses onto a piece of paper, just a normal piece of paper in a notebook, or you can write on an A4 piece of paper on its side and then put a line through the middle. And on one half, write all of your worries and your stresses, and on the other half, write down the solutions that may solve them. So sometimes solutions aren't just a big statement solution like, oh, I want my hair cut, go and get my hair cut then, but it'll be little solutions. So for example, one of your worries may be, I'm very worried about going into this new space where I don't know anybody. So a solution to that might be to check out any information that you've been given out before. Right? Say for example, it was a new day at a college, for example. Well, there'll be information that they've sent you in advance as to what to expect. So maybe read that information, check it out, see if there's any names on there that you know already, and you might be able to make a connection from somewhere else. You might have met these people before that are going to be there on the day, but you don't know until you check. So a solution may be to do your research and check out some info that you've not read yet. So one of your worries, for example, may be that you're really worried that you're not going to pass this exam or this assignment that you're doing. So what are the solutions that come into play there on the opposite side? So if you wrote, really worried about passing my exam, on the other side, for solutions, you may say, oh, okay, well, I'm going to make sure that I put the effort in to revise, because by revising, then I know the answers and then I'll pass. Maybe there's no time to revise, so you make time. At the end of the day, you've got to make time to do something like that. So finding the space to make time for you to do your research and to do your revising would be another solution as well. What this task does is takes out the worries and the stresses from your head, puts them onto paper, and then makes them something that you can actually tackle, something that you can actually work on and to sort of fix in a way. Because when they're in your head, you can just keep worrying and worrying and worrying, and it just keeps sort of ticking over, and then new things add into it. But as soon as we take those out, put them onto paper, we can then really look at how we can solve them and find solutions. So that's a really good example of something that you can do to get those worries, get them down, and then try and solve them. You're sort of doing what you would do if it was a maths question. Once you wrote it down, you need to write down your workings out, don't you? Well, this is the sort of same thing. You're writing out your workings out, and then that way, for me anyway, I come to a stronger conclusion at the end of what I need to do. And also, sometimes there isn't a solution to everything. So if you've not got a solution to one of your worries, that's absolutely fine. That's why it's a worry. And sometimes it's just time that we need. We need time to pass. We need things to, fit in like a jigsaw and sort of solve itself, because sometimes that is the case. Time needs to carry on for us to then be comfortable with something that we're doing, like a big change or something that's different in our lives. So sometimes as well, solutions aren't always the option, but giving time is also a really important thing to keep in mind. An add-on to this as well would be something that I call the worry bin. So the worry bin is basically if you've got a worry or you've got something that's out of your control. So like me, I worry all the time about things that I can't control. Like say I've got a meeting somewhere and I'm like, oh, well, if I've got to get the train, what about if the train is late and then I'm late for my meeting? Or what am I going to do? Or if I'm driving somewhere and I go, oh, well, there might be loads of traffic, and I worry about things that maybe, well, they are completely out of my control. Or I'm looking back on things, I'm thinking about things that went wrong, and instead of reflecting on them properly, I'm worrying about them. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. You've just got to move on, or you've just got to accept that things can happen. So the worry bin, this is what, my interpretation of it would be, is to get a piece of paper, a bit of scrap paper, and write down that worry. For example, my train's going to be late, or there might be traffic, or someone's going to let me down. You have no control over that. So write it on a piece of paper, detach it from your worrisome mind, write it down on a piece of scrap paper, scrunch it up and throw it in the bin. This way, we're making a physical detachment from this worry, piecing it down and getting rid of it. You don't need to worry about it anymore. It depends how your brain works, if this is something that would work for you, but just try it out. If you're worrying about something coming up, write it down, scrunch it up and throw it away if it's something that's out of your control and that you can't work on. If not, if it is something you feel like you can solve and work on, well then go through that process of the worries and the solution. But I suppose if things don't fit in there and they are things out of your control, that's a really good technique and a really good thing that you can practice to sort of detach yourself from that worry and just move on. Okay, so I'm going to give you 10 minutes now to, have a little go at this worry and solution technique I've just mentioned. You only have to do a couple, whatever you do, because really these things are things you can take away now. I'm going to give you these sort of activities and tips that you can work on and then take home and do them. Well, you're probably at home now watching this, but you can take them to do in your own time whenever things come up. So, for example, think about something that you may be worried about at the minute or something that you're stressed about. Is it something you have control over? Something that you can change? Is it something that you can't really change, so it's something that you put in the worry bin? Or is it something that you can find a solution to maybe? It's always good to just try the solution part, just so you know for sure. So if you've got a worry, write down that worry on a piece of paper, then put a line in the centre of the paper, and on the opposite side, parallel, write down the solutions that you could do. Now, most of the time, those solutions do lie within your brain. You've got the solutions, but we don't offer ourselves enough time to work out, really what the solutions might be and what they are, because the worry and the stress takes over. So I would like you to take a look, write that down. You've got 10 minutes. So now you've done that, hopefully you can build on it in your own time. You could maybe write some more down tomorrow, or whenever you've got these worries, you just write them down. Maybe you can have a note in a notebook that you've got that you can keep coming back to, where you have your worries and your solutions on, but it's something that you keep on doing, something that you can come back to. Okay, so next we're looking at gratitude, and I call this activity a note to self. So a lot of the time we dwell on the things that are sort of negative or worrisome that are going on in our minds, but we don't take enough time to really take sort of thanks to the things that are good in our life and take gratitude for those things, and to really look at the good stuff that we've got going on. It doesn't really come natural to us. I think a lot of the time our brains go straight to like, oh no, I want to get this, I've not got enough money, I've got, it's too cold everywhere, I've got to get this bus, I can't learn this because of this. But a lot of the time these things may be true. I'm not making those trivial. These things may be important and true, but you've also got some good things going on, so really pay some attention to those good things. I would say these are things to always check in on as well, like either once a day, once a week, at least once a month. Check in on these positive, good things in your life and just remind yourself of them, because sometimes we just take them for granted and we're not like clocking them in our minds what is actually, really good for us and what's positive things that are happening. So what I'm saying is this next task is called Note to Self. So with Note to Self, you can either have a notebook that you look in daily. Say if you have a yearly notebook, or you work from maybe just writing notes on scrap paper, or if you make notes on your phone, all of these things are fine. If you're writing in your notes, if you've got a notebook that's halfway full, why don't you carry on and look at the spare pages that future you is going to get to at some point, and write a little note to yourself saying, you could be gratitude of where you live, the food that you eat regularly, the family that you've got, the friends that you've got, where you go to study. All of these places, all of these things we take for granted. So write a note to yourself in your book, so when maybe one day you're working and you're a bit down, you'll turn a page and something you wrote 2 months ago will be there saying, come on, for me, come on Josh, everything's not too bad. You could also do this in your notes in your phone as well. Sometimes when you're on the bus and your mind's going along, or if you're travelling somewhere, or you have time to think, sometimes these worries come in, but try and make it so that the good things are coming in too. And when they do, take note of them, write them down in your notes in your phone, so that when you are feeling down, you can check your notes and look through a list of all the good that you've got going on. Similarly, you can write on a post-it note or a piece of paper and put it somewhere for yourself to find in the future, maybe on the mirror in the bathroom or by the side of your bed. Just put a little note of something that is good in your life to remind yourself. This might seem a little bit twee and a little bit like, oh, why should I do that? But honestly, it's a great pick-me-up when you find a little note from yourself that you forgot that you did. And I think it's a really lovely way to balance out that worry that sometimes overcomes us. So I'm going to give you 10 minutes again for this activity. I want you to write a note to yourself, or a couple of notes, how many it takes to do it. So pause the video, and I want you to look at all the different things that you could write to yourself. Really think about the positives in your life. I know that I've got a lovely roast dinner coming up, soon. So I mean, I'm very grateful of that food and I'm not taking it for granted. So maybe note down something like that, or the fact that I've just got a car. I mean, I'm really grateful for that, but I have stresses that come with that where it's like, oh, there's going to be traffic, or I'm worried about driving. But I've got that, and it's a great thing to have, and I should be grateful for it. So I'm going to write a note that says, be grateful for that and be happy that you've got it and you can help other people now that you've got it. So write yourself a little note. It may be, you know, I'm really grateful for this new coat I've got. You know, it can be silly things like that. And then when you find them, you can go, yeah, you know what? I am grateful of that. So please do that now. I'll give you 10 minutes. So pause the video now and you can come back to it when you're done, and we'll crack on with the rest of the session. So the next little thing we're going to be looking at is quite simple and quite basic, but you sometimes need someone to tell you for you to really get it to sink in. But it's as simple as do the things that you love doing. So, you know, sometimes if you're feeling a bit low, if you're feeling a bit down, you feel like you can't do anything, but note down the things that you love doing and do them when you feel that way. Like, it's okay to do that. If things get too much and you get too stressed about it, if the thing that you like doing is sit and watch a YouTube video, sit and watch a YouTube video. If it's sit and read a book, read a book. If it's to go for a walk, go for a walk if you can. All these different things that you love to do, make note of and think, I love doing this. I'm at my happiest when I do this. And then when you do feel a bit low, find the time to do them and give that time to yourself. It's as simple as that. One thing might be talking to friends, and I know at the minute we can't really talk to our friends as much as we did, but you can also send them a message. You can maybe give them a call. There's things that we can do, and it's like, don't just put it off because there may be a little barrier in the way. Really think about making that effort, because I mean, when it comes to friendships and stuff, I know that I sometimes don't message friends because I feel like, oh, I don't want to bother them, but a lot of the time they're quite happy to get a call, and I definitely am when somebody calls me. So you don't have to think about things like that. If it's something you enjoy doing, go for it and enjoy doing it. Give that time to yourself. But something to keep track of and to look at is that, you know, if I sit and play too many games on the Xbox, or if I'm texting my mates for too long, or, you know, if I'm sat sketching, drawing, and it takes over my day when I've got work to do, then I actually feel bad because of it. I actually feel down because I've not got the stuff done that I needed to do. So it's actually really important to find a balance between the things that you love and the things that you have to do. But when you find that equal balance, you should be okay. You should find a good balance of work and leisure, the stuff that you like to do. But it's really important that to find that balance, if I have got a full day of work, it's harder to fit in something that I like doing because it feels too indulgent almost. I don't want to fit in going and reading a book or doing a sketch because it doesn't fit in. But if I actually make it so that I have a list of things that I really know that I enjoy doing, then I can just piece them into my day, because I know, well, actually playing a quick game on the Xbox takes like half an hour, so I could actually fit that in just after I've eaten some dinner or something. So once you've got this idea of the things that you do love to do, and you've noted them and you've reflected on them and you've thought about them, you can just insert them into those busy days or those low days that, you know, when you need a pick-me-up. So again, do the things that you love to do. Now, something that's really important and something that really affects our mental well-being is our physical health. And so, you know, eating really well helps you well-being, you know, getting exercise really helps as well. So make sure you have time to do that and look after yourself. You know, if you feel like you've eaten a big burger for the 4th time in a week and it's making you feel a bit, you know, don't eat that burger again in the week. Think about yourself. You know, what goes into your body is really important when it affects your mental well-being. But without going into that in too much detail, I think in a simpler form, you know, exercise and being active really helps our mindset, and especially a change of scenery does. So, you know, if you've been working at the minute, I know a lot of people have been working from home, doing a lot of things, typing and staring at screens. Well, you know, find time in your day to go for a little stroll in the neighborhood, around your house, in a park. You know, there's things that we can do that changes the scenery, gets our legs moving, even having a stretch. I mean, getting up, having a stretch, being aware of that. I've been watching videos on YouTube which are quick little exercise videos which involve like press-ups and stuff like that. As long as you feel safe and comfortable that you can do those things and that you're being safe while you're doing it, well then these things are important to do. And I would say that these are the things that I am sometimes way too lazy to do as well. Like, I'll be sat there doing loads of work and I won't want to go and like do some stretches or go for a walk or anything because I can't be bothered. It's not even that it doesn't fit in my day, I just can't be bothered. Like, who has time for that? But it's about making time for it, because I guarantee that going for a little stroll or a little walk really does boost your well-being. You know, even if it's raining, which it is all the time, grab an umbrella, and if it's safe to do so, go for a little wander. I would just want to mention that because I really do think it's important. So with all those things in mind, all those activities and tips, if you are feeling that it is getting a bit too stressful and you are getting a bit too anxious and those tips are helping but they're not solving problems for you or worries that you have, well then what I'd advise is that you talk to someone. I think that more often than not we try and keep our, you know, worries in mind and we don't want to burden anyone else with them, but a friend, a family member, someone you work with, you know, if you can trust them and you feel like you want to have a chat with them, I would open the conversation and just have a chat with them about your worries. Talk it out with them. Maybe they can help in some way, or maybe they can offer help in some way as well. I would always go for starting the conversation. If there's something really worrying you, just have a chat. And I can guarantee that, you know, those friends that really care for you and the family members and people that you know that really care for you will try and help in whatever way that they can. So it's really important to talk and to have dialogue and conversation about those things that make you anxious and worried. Because sometimes, you know, the saying is a problem shared is a problem halved. And that is the case in many situations. So start a conversation and let's just see where it takes you. So we've now come to the end of the session and it's time to reflect and download. So all of these different things that I've mentioned today, the tips and the activities, these are all things that you can use whenever you're feeling things are getting a bit too much, you've got some worries, you've got things playing on your mind. Revisit these tips. Everyone is different, everybody has a different mind that works differently. So if you've got some things that work for you, some things that don't, that's just the way it is. So what I would suggest is that you just try these things out that we've mentioned today and maybe give a bit of time to work with them and to get used to them. And if they don't work for you, then they don't work for you. But I'm sure out of the things we've talked about today, there'll be something that you can take and work on. Thank you for watching this online video workshop. I hope it's been really useful and I'll see you very soon.